Today, our very special guest is Jeffrey Mort. Jeffrey is a certified Integrative Health Coach, IHP Level 1 and 2, a certified High Performance Health Coach, a National Guild Certified Consulting Hypnotherapist, and in his business, he works with 8 modalities, which he'll share with us. And he's a dad of 3 amazing teenagers, which he will tell us about. Jeffrey also has a podcast, Breaking Boundaries for Entrepreneurs, which is about helping his clients unlock their full potential and thrive in a crazy world. He has programs that will help you thrive in every aspect of your life. And without further ado, here's Jeffrey.
Wonderful. Well, first of all, Liz, thank you so much for inviting me on the Soulful Conversations podcast. I appreciate that, and I'm grateful to be here. And yeah, that's a great question. What is integrative health? You know, a lot of practitioners out there practice under holistic wellness, which, you know, we practice that, definitely. Some consider themselves like alternative health, and alternative health really has I wouldn't say a negative connotation, but it makes you think that it's one or the other, either or thinking, which I don't condone that, because we can have it all. We really can. And so integrative health brings all the modalities together, even conventional medicine, because there's things in conventional medicine that I can't offer. I can't offer a client imaging if they need an ultrasound of their liver or kidneys or something like that. I certainly can't perform back surgery for somebody if that's ultimately what it comes to. But when we're talking about integrative health, as far as our private wellness practice, Love Energy Wellness, we bring together 8 modalities of integrative health. And those are Ayurveda, which is the science of life. We bring together bioregulatory medicine, which is natural living. We bring in traditional Chinese medicine and herbalism. And a little fun fact about me is traditional Chinese medicine was actually my lead domino into the wellness industry back in 2015. I came from a background in the construction industry, and that just took its toll on my health. And what I did was I joined a Tai Chi and Qigong group, which is part of traditional Chinese medicine. And that really transformed my life and made me ask the question, what else is possible? So that's when I got into these other modalities of integrative health. So as well as the Ayurveda and traditional Chinese medicine, we bring in traditional naturopathy, we bring in an element of Eastern philosophy, we bring in orthomolecular medicine, which is the science of vitamins and minerals, we bring in functional medicine, which is modern science. So we're bringing in together, you know, modern science and ancient wisdom, and we're bringing that all together. And then, of course, I use things like neuro-linguistic programming, along with my background in hypnosis training from the National Guild of Hypnotists. And we bring that all together into what we call integrative health.
Well, I'm really curious, Jeffrey, when someone comes in to see you for the first time, they're not quite sure where to start with you or how all of this works. What is if you don't mind, what is your process when you first meet someone?
Sure. Well, it's a setting just like this, Liz, where I meet the client virtually. So my practice is 100% virtual, and we meet on Zoom, and I offer complimentary consultations as well. So during that 20-minute consultation, if it's for health, or 60-minute consultation, if it's for hypnosis, we really do a deep dive. The person doesn't need to know what to do next. As long as they found me, I can guide them through that process. And what that really looks like is to get an understanding of what they've been dealing with and where they are at this point so that I can meet them there, and then a better understanding of where they want to be. And a lot of people have many health goals, but if we could narrow things down, a lot of times on those conversations, they come to me with a shopping list of things that they've, you know, symptoms they've had or diagnoses that they've accumulated over the years, and they're just, they're just not feeling well. And I always tell people, I don't want to be your first stop. I want to be your last stop. I want to be the place that you come to after you feel as though you've tried everything and nothing else has worked. Those are the people that I enjoy working with, because I can open their eyes to integrative health and the process that we walk them through after we narrow down to, you know, what's the number one thing out of all these things that you just listed off. What's the number one goal that you would like to see in the next 90 days? And then that's what we're going to work on. And then what we do once we onboard them as a client, then we send them at-home functional lab testing. Now, this is a little bit different than going to the doctor's office and getting a blood
Right.
draw from a phlebotomist and having your doctor tell you that all of your blood work looks fine. So, I don't know how many times I've had a client say, my doctor told me it must be all in my head because my blood work
Right.
looks fine. Now, no offense to the medical doctors because that's all they know is blood work, and the parameters that conventional medicine uses for blood work have a specific range where it's normal until it's not, until it's in a diseased state. And then typically what they do is they treat with pharmaceutical drugs. But no offense to doctors or nurse practitioners, they got into the industry to be able to help people and do no harm, but they were educated on an insurance-driven system, on a pharmaceutical-driven system. So no offense to them whatsoever. They're doing what they know how to do best. And, we have a lot of referring partners for our practice that are medical doctors, that are nurse practitioners, because they know in their line of work, they only have 10 or 15 minutes to spend with a client. And if the client wants more than that, if they want an in-depth consultation, if they want 3 months of support, then, these providing referring practitioners a lot of times refer clients to somebody like a health coach that can be able to take the time to support the client. So the functional lab testing is amazing. They go right to the client's house through the mail. They look similar to this one here. This happens to be a minerals and metals test. And these labs are done right in the privacy of the home. They're completely confidential. The information's not shared with insurance companies, medical providers, spouses, not anybody but the client, myself as a health coach, and the laboratory. Now, some of the samples do involve blood, such as a finger prick, where you drop a spot of blood on a card, and then you let that dry. That goes in the mail, goes to the laboratory, and then they rehydrate it, they analyze it. Some of the other samples that we have, like this minerals and metals lab, uses actually a hair sample. And through that hair sample, we can look at 3 months of data for mineral imbalances, mineral deficiencies, heavy metal toxicities, mineral ratios. Gives us a really comprehensive look at what has been going on in the body for the last 3 months. It's a great tool to be able to look at the amount of stress the body is under and how the body is responding to that stress, as well as other toxicities and imbalances. It's a phenomenal lab. And then some of the other labs that we use. One of them is a urine-based sample, which is the Candida metabolic and vitamins test. So we're looking at vitamin imbalances. We're looking at yeast, bacterial, fungal overgrowth in the gut. It's a really comprehensive lab test that looks at 75 different biomarkers just through a simple urine sample. So that's usually where I start people. That's what I call the starter kit, because it's the hair tissue mineral analysis and it's the organic acids test is what they're known as in the industry. That's a great starting place for people to begin with, and that's actually a lab bundle that I include in my base coaching practice, because years ago I was doing coaching without the labs, and it led to a lot of guesswork because I just didn't have the data to back up. I could only go by the symptoms and the descriptions that the person was giving. Now, a person doesn't know if they have candida bacterial overgrowth, or if they have copper deficiency, or a selenium deficiency or something like that. So this lab testing really is the data that eliminates that guesswork, and it pinpoints those underlying root causes. Now, some of the other labs that we use are an IgG food sensitivity test. Food sensitivities are a little bit different than food allergies. And I always use the analogy that if somebody eats shellfish and their throat swells up, they know they have a shellfish allergy. But they can eat foods that they feel as though are healthy for them, such as almonds or chicken or spinach. There's 190 foods that we test for in this simple blood spot food sensitivity test that can give a range if the person is sensitive to those. Now, if somebody has a food sensitivity to, let's say, almonds, and they have almonds at lunch on Monday, that can actually manifest into something like a migraine headache or joint pain 3 days later. So to be able to pinpoint what foods are causing some of these chronic symptoms like joint pain or headaches or fatigue or brain fog, it's difficult to know unless we're running that IgG food sensitivity test. And another test that we use is an omega-3 and inflammation test. So this gives us a good baseline at where a person is for their balanced levels of inflammation. Now, inflammation is beneficial for the body healing and lots of processes, but when it becomes unbalanced, then that's when they start developing other issues, especially blood sugar sensitivities, insulin resistance, things along those lines. So the omega-3 and inflammation test, that's another blood spot-based test, absolutely amazing. And then the last one that we typically recommend in what we call the Big Five bundle, this next lab rounds out that Big Five, which is called the stress, mood, metabolism. This is absolutely amazing. It uses a saliva sample to look at hormones. And, this is where a lot of people get hormone testing done, and then they go directly to hormone replacement therapy. Now, there's a lot missing in between those two steps. And blood is not the best way to look at hormone levels because the hormones in the blood are bound to proteins, which makes it an inaccurate reading. So when we're looking at hormones in the saliva, we're looking at what is bioavailable to the body at that particular time. And we're looking at not just estrogen, but estrogen and progesterone and a ratio between the two, as well as testosterone in both men and women, and DHEA as well. So those are the primary sex hormones that we're looking at and making sure that they're all balanced. And if they're not in balance, then of course we have natural health protocols to be able to balance those hormones before the client goes to something like a bioidentical hormone or at the other end of the spectrum, the hormone replacement therapy through their primary care physician. A lot of times when we get a client that comes in that is currently on hormone replacement therapy, they went from the pendulum on one side swinging all the way over to the other side, where before they started the HRT, their hormones were completely depleted. They started the HRT, and now their hormones are off the chart, and they're dealing with issues on the other side of that spectrum. So, it's an amazing lab to look at the balance, and again, just through a simple saliva test. Now, in that saliva test, we're also looking at a stress hormone called cortisol. And not just in the morning, we're looking at cortisol through 4 points during the day. So we can see that curve to make sure that we have proper waking morning cortisol, because cortisol wants to be high in the morning, and that's what gives us our energy. And a lot of times that's triggered from the sunlight. And then in the evening, we want to make sure that cortisol is low, because cortisol is inversely proportional with melatonin, and melatonin will set us up for a good night's sleep. So if somebody has high cortisol because they have a stressful job or stressful lifestyle and their cortisol is high in the afternoon, or maybe they're working out too late, too close to bedtime, and that bedtime cortisol is spiked and through the roof, that's going to offset their deep sleep, their REM sleep. And sleep is one of the foundations that we use in our practice to be able to help somebody to rebalance things like blood sugar and cortisol levels and hormones and things of that nature. So yeah, the functional medicine lab testing, again, done completely at home, completely private, and it gives us a great comprehensive look as far as what is going on with that person, because everybody's situation is a little bit different, and there's not a one-size-fits-all remedy, like conventional medicine does. Well, your thyroid's low, so let's put you on thyroxine or some other thyroid medication, and that's really their one-size-fits-all approach. But when we see somebody come in with thyroid levels that are off, which we also look at through that stress, mood, and metabolism lab. So the sex hormones, the stress hormones, then we get into a full thyroid panel, not just TSH, but we're looking at free T3, free T4, TPO antibodies, as well as TSH. And it gives us a really good idea of the person's metabolism and how their thyroid is responding to the other stressors in the body. And I'll tell you, the majority of the time, Liz, when somebody has a thyroid issue, it's really not a thyroid issue. It's the thyroid responding to an underlying root cause, like a deficiency or a toxicity going on inside the body. So we're able to look at all of these things, as well as cardiometabolic. So we're looking at insulin, we're looking at hemoglobin A1C, and we're also looking at things like vitamin D in that lab. So it's a really big picture of what's going on, and it's absolutely eye-opening to the clients when they see this data that they probably have never seen before. A lot of the clients that come our way aren't even aware that these functional labs are an option for them. And some of these labs have been around since the 1970s, so they're really nothing new in functional medicine. So After that process, after we get a baseline of where they are with the functional labs, then we go through, while we're waiting for the lab results to come back, usually takes about 4 weeks for the lab results to come back. We work them through a functional medicine detox protocol, which is a 21-day program that opens up the liver detox pathways so that the liver can actually do its job and make a conversion from phase 1 to phase 2 toxins in the body. So the liver most of the time has the nutrients it needs for that phase 1 process, but it's the phase 2 process that it's usually missing those nutrients because we're not getting them from food alone. So we utilize food, diet's a big portion of that protocol, as well as some intermittent fasting, and then some Ayurvedic herbal remedies and some functional medicine herbal remedies that help to support the liver and open up that pathway so that the liver can actually convert fat-soluble toxins into water-soluble toxins so they can be excreted out of the body. And that's an amazing, amazing process. Although it's not a weight loss program, most people lose 5 pounds per week on that. So if they don't need to lose weight, because some people come to see me and they're having malabsorption issues, so they're underweight, those kind of people are not going to lose weight on this protocol, but it's going to do them so much good, so much benefit to replenish the deficiencies that they have going on. Now, for the people that are holding on to that toxic water weight, that's going to start to be released, and on average, like I say, about 5 pounds per week. So after 21 days, they're about down maybe 15, sometimes up to 25 pounds on this program, but they're feeling better, they're sleeping better. I'll tell you, by day 5, their energy is absolutely through the roof. Their mental clarity is lifted. That brain fog has lifted, and they're feeling amazing. And by the time we meet again after the 21 days, and of course, if they have questions along the way, I'm there to support them on a daily basis. And they're feeling amazing. We go over their lab results, and then we make a personalized wellness plan that's specific for what those lab results tell us, and then we support the client through that protocol. And the worst of the worst people might take a little bit longer, but on average, after working with us for 3 months, they're going to see a major transformation without the major lifestyle adjustments. Now, we do have a protocol that we work them through that are minor lifestyle adjustments. And this is called the de-stress protocol. And of course, I love to give credit where credit's due. That was created by my mentor, Dr. Stephen Cabral, who founded the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute. And the de-stress protocol is an acronym for diet, for exercise, for stress reduction, for toxin removal, for rest, for emotional balance, for science-backed supplements, and of course, success mindset. And we have different parts of that protocol that we can help people with. Now, we, of course, don't dump all of that on them at once, but whatever particular category that they need the most help with that's in alignment with their health goal, then that's what we implement and help them to make these minor adjustments in their lifestyle that are going to make a major compounding advantage for them later on down the road. And I was saying, most people get some amazing results in just 3 months. People that are a little bit worse off, it might take some, 6 months to be able to rebalance their gut. And the worst of the worst people, no problem in 12 months to be able to rebalance their body from something that they've been dealing with for months, years, or even decades in some cases.
Right. How long does a client work with you?
That's a great question. So we make a commitment for 3 months. And typically what I see is after those 3 months are finished, that, I have clients sometimes say, I don't want to break up with you. I want to continue working with you. So we end up signing them back up for another 3 months. And because our program has lab tests that come with it, like I said, the starter kit, we usually implement the labs on the front end. So that's our step number 1. And then when they're a repeat client and they sign up for an additional 3 months, we'll hold off on those labs until month 6 so we can do some retesting and we can prove to them that the work that you've been doing is effective, and here's the results. Not only do you feel good, but now your labs are more imbalanced.
You also offer your clients hypnosis as well as NLP. Can you tell us a little bit about your hypnosis program?
Yes, absolutely. And, during our coaching sessions, of course, I'll apply neurolinguistic programming and some of the conversations that we're having. And if the person's open to hypnosis, I do have a hypnosis program that doesn't involve the functional lab testing and integrative health. It's strictly for hypnosis, where if a client comes to me and they want to work on some subconscious blocks that they have, or some limiting beliefs that they've had and just can't seem to get over that. And that can be for health, that could be for relationships, that could be for financial purposes. A lot of people have money stories that they've held on to since childhood that is just
Right.
keeping them from getting to that next level. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, so I see imposter syndrome being an obstacle for a lot of people, in self-confidence as well. So, but we do take the hypnosis portion and we bring a small piece of that over into the health coaching, as long as the
Right.
person's open to it. And that's one of the questions on our intake form, to know if they're open to that or not. Some people just don't want anything to do with hypnosis, and other people are all about it, and they want everything that we can bring. So a lot of times what I'll do is, for a person's specific health goal, I will create a hypnosis audio for them to use as sort of homework, to keep them accountable, keep them motivated, and to be able to work on some subconscious reprogramming. And I'll give you for example, that I had a client that said to me one day, and this was at the beginning of working with her in month number one. She said, Jeff, I just can't imagine what it would feel like to be well again. And I said, we're going to stop right here, because there is a subconscious belief. There's a belief right there that you will never be well, and we're going to work on that. So we had a conversation about that, and shifted her perspective from believing that she would never be well to having, at least being open to the opportunity. I'm not saying I want to take somebody's belief system from them and
Right.
throw it in the trash, but let's just suspend that disbelief for 1 minute. And then we're going to work over here on creating some new beliefs and creating some new habits that support those beliefs. And one of those habits is listening to this hypnosis audio called Imagine Wellness on a daily basis, so that you can start to reprogram your thinking, so that you can imagine what it's going to be like and feel like to be well again in a very short amount of time. And that was super helpful. That client made some amazing gains in the wellness path that they were on. And I'm grateful for that. And then they ended up signing up for an additional 3 months, because they enjoyed the support that they were getting during the first session.
Can you share with us a bit about NLP and what is the difference between that and hypnosis?
Sure. Well, they have a lot of similarities, and
Mhm.
NLP, especially back years ago, got a bad rap as like a dark modality. And
Right.
if you look for NLP books on Amazon, most of the ones that come up first are all about the dark side of persuasion and influence. But what we do is we do it in an ethical fashion,
Mhm.
and we only apply it so that we can help somebody to get to the next level or get through those blocks. And so the NLP, the neuro linguistic programming, is simply language patterns that lead somebody towards where they want to be in the first place. That's as simple as it is. So that is an application that's brought into hypnosis. Now, the difference between NLP and hypnosis is NLP is just language. It's just conversation that helps to lead somebody in a particular direction. That could be either beneficial for the client, or, going back to the dark side of NLP, to be able to persuade somebody into doing something that the person speaking wants them to do. That's not that's not what we do in our practice. Now, hypnosis is being able to get somebody to relax into a hypnotic state. Now, it's not mind control. There's a lot of misconceptions about
Right.
hypnosis, thanks to
Right.
comedy shows and stage hypnosis. And as
Yeah.
a funny story, that was my first exposure to hypnosis back when I was in my 20s. I went to several comedy shows with friends back then, and I made a vow that I would never allow anybody to hypnotize me in my life, because of the things that I saw these comedians do to people on stage. And but it's so far from what we do in our practice with subconscious reprogramming and hypnosis. So getting somebody to just relax, and they're in control the entire time. There's no taking over somebody or making them do things that they wouldn't do in their normal waking state. And we get them to relax into that theta brainwave state. And the
Mhm.
interesting thing about that is, we are in and out of hypnosis all day long as
Right.
individuals. Have you ever driven somewhere, Liz, and you get to the place and you're like, I don't even remember driving through that town. That was a state of
Absolutely.
that was a
Yeah.
state of hypnosis. Or if you get lost in a good book and then you look up and you're like, oh my goodness, it was 2 hours that went by. That was a state of hypnosis. Or if you get lost in a good television show and somebody's talking to you and you don't even acknowledge that they're there, like that is a state of hypnosis. And of course, news and media and all those things are hypnotizing us in the background. If there's any repetition, that can be a form of hypnosis. So,
Right.
we use all of that for the good of the outcome for the person. We get them into a hypnotic state, and then we apply the neuro-linguistic programming and we lead them to the outcome that they want. And then using that as repetition, using that hypnosis audio that we create for that person on a daily basis for maybe a couple of weeks at a time as part of our process, and then we move on to the next topic. And when I have a client that wants to work on subconscious reprogramming for a specific purpose, and that's what they commission me to do, then I have a specific process on how to work them through different stages of our hypnosis program to be able to, all right, let's start at the foundation, let's build on that, and then we'll move you through and eventually we'll build a bridge from where you are to where you want to be in the mind so that there are no subconscious blocks or belief systems in place that are going to keep you from doing that. The subconscious it's a tricky son of a gun because the the brain likes predictability and it likes to automate
Right.
things. And it automates for energy conservation. So, this is a big part of our practice and energy as well. So it's not just physical energy, but it's mental energy and spiritual energy. And in order to conserve energy, the brain wants to automate things, and that's the subconscious job to be able to
Right.
automate. Like 90% of our day, every single day, is automated by the subconscious mind. And if somebody habituates something over and over again, the subconscious sees it as a survival mechanism because it says this organism that we are responsible for has done this function so often that it must be needed for survival. So we're going to put this in the automation category and we're going to make sure that come hell or high water, this organism does this function on a daily basis so that we can survive. And we're just going to shift that over into the automation category. Now, some places where this comes into play is people that want to quit smoking. They have habituated that action of smoking, and at their identity level, they are a smoker. And the subconscious knows that that is something that needs to be automated for survival. Even though the conscious mind knows that it's unhealthy and it's probably going to put them in peril in their health, the subconscious has hierarchy over the conscious mind thinking.
Right.
And so we sort of bring those two together. And, not that smoking cessation is our specialty, but I've had clients before that are like, I've tried everything and nothing's helped me. I need help with my health, but I'm still smoking every day. Can you help me? So we'll bring in some of the NLP, we'll bring in some of the hypnosis, and we'll be able to use that to be able to help them to create a new identity as a non-smoker, and or whatever the case may be. Maybe they want the identity of a wealthy person or a healthy person or somebody that has thriving relationships with their family or partner or whatever the case may be. So there's really, I want to say, there's nothing that hypnosis can't help with. And if you actually go to our hypnosis page, which is loveenergywellness.com/transform, there's frequently asked questions. And the first question is their efficacy in hypnosis. And you click on that link, and there's over 300 scholarly articles that talk about the efficacy of hypnosis that are backed by science. And it's been since the 1950s that the American Medical Association recognized clinical hypnosis as a medical practice, as a medical procedure. So it's widely recognized in the medical world. And like I said, it's unfortunate that stage hypnosis has given the overtone
Yes.
of something that's kind of not medical related.
If someone is interested in working with you, how can they get a hold of you?
Sure, absolutely. They can find me on my website, loveenergywellness.com. That's all one word. And they can click on the Start Now button. That'll bring them to my schedule. They can schedule a complimentary consultation, completely free, no obligation. We can just have a conversation whether or not we're a good fit and what your health goals are and how we can help. And then, of course, I'm on all of the social media platforms, either as Jeffrey Mort or Love Energy Wellness. You can find me there, and happy to engage with anybody and have that conversation.
Well, that gives us a lot to think about. I can see how hypnosis and NLP can help us move into a more positive state of being. Thanks again, Jeffrey, for your time and wealth of information.
You're welcome, Liz. Thank you for having me. I'm grateful to be here and look forward to our future conversations.
This is Soulful Conversations with Modern Day Healers. I'm your host, Liz Naughton. And until we meet again, please know that you are loved, and namaste.